Well, I'm excited for today's podcast. It's my first guest, and I got to say, it's a big one. Over the last 6 months, he has not only been a huge supporter of mine, but a huge mentor in my business journey. And he's an expert. He has over 25 years of experience in business and leadership coaching. He has helped countless individuals and organizations reach their potential. He is an expert in understanding what drives people, and he uses his DISC personality assessment to help improve strengths, performance, and sales processes. His expertise has helped thousands of individuals reach their potential, and I can't be more grateful to have him on my podcast today. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Walt Dobrowski. Thank you for coming on, Walt. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've been excited for this. Are you Polish?
Yeah. Last name is Polish, SKI.
I'm half Polish. My mom's side, my grandmother's from Poland, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
So
my grandfather and grandmother from Poland.
we got to
Came
stick out
over
for the
and
Polacks. We got to stick up for the
yeah,
Polacks.
yeah.
Awesome, Walt. Well, Walt, you've been obviously, we haven't known each other that long. We have known each other almost in a virtual relationship, sort of coaching, mentor type of relationship for about 6 months now. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, March,
Yeah.
April. Yeah.
And so in that time, I got to say, Walt, you have been one of my biggest supporters. You have been a extreme influence in my business. And I just appreciate everything you do.
Well, thanks, man. Appreciate
So
it.
yeah, definitely. Well, Walt, one of the things that I wanted to talk about first and foremost was kind of how you got started. So talk a little bit about first what you do, and then I kind of want to dive into who Walt is. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm retired. I've been retired since about November of 2022. And the kind of field I was in is I officially was a personality profiler. And I went through the DISC assessments and got certified through there. And what I did is I used that to detect and onboard salespeople in particular, and leadership and the abilities. And then what I did through these DISC assessments is I would actually look at the person's strengths, and then I would look at the person's weaknesses, and then we would go ahead and work on their weaknesses and then make them just a full circle entrepreneur. And I did that for 20 years. Started a company called Sales Hire and did that for a little while. And then after I retired, I really didn't do anything for the first couple of years. Then I thought I could go ahead and start. The thing is, I can detect things in people, and I can see things that are in people before I even do a DISC assessment on them. I can already tell they have potential, and I look for the younger entrepreneurs, the younger people, and it's sometimes I have this gift where I feel like I can see their potential, but they can't see it yet. So it's almost like my job to go ahead and try to uncover the things to get them to become aware that they have abilities beyond what they think they have. And so I like younger entrepreneurs between, let's say, 15 and like 28 to 30 years is where I specialize in. And and so I do that to this day. I'll see somebody and I'll go, hey man, I could show you some things that you probably don't know about yourself that you can actually unleash your potential. And if they're interested, then I go ahead and I help them. If they're not interested, then I just move on. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've definitely done that with me. You've made me realize that I'm capable of doing a lot more than I thought I was. It's interesting. So you took this whole personality type disc assessment, which I think is I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Understanding your own personality type and understanding the personality type of the individual that you are working with, whether that's a client, a prospect, a lead.
Yeah.
And so the sales for hire or sales hire, that's actually your company.
Yeah, that's my company.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, on a little background, just from what I've seen at that company, you are basically giving a disc personality assessment test to an individual. They're taking this test, and then it reads out a complete report on their strengths and weaknesses, like you just said. And then from there, you're able to build this person into a successful sales or entrepreneur. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly right. And I could do it with any personality type too. A lot of people, when we first started with the DISC assessments or any of the assessments to find out what their people's potentials are, what I found out is that I used to be able to judge people, or I would judge people based on the DISC assessment if they were going to be a good salesperson or not. And once you do that for a length of time, you start finding out that it isn't really what happens before they get hired. It happens what happens, the magic happens after they get hired. So now I spend most of my time in the prep of some of the challenges that that person's going to have, so they can have a survival percentage as higher as if somebody never coached them at the beginning. So it could be any personality type. It can be like right now, a lot of salespeople think that they have to be drivers. They have to be, people that, well, mostly drivers. That's what the D is in the disc. And they have to have a certain type of personality to where they can actually relate to people. And what I found out is that I can take any personality profile right now. So I've taken it to the next level. And I can say, hey, I can work with that guy because now I already know what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, and all they have to do is work on their weaknesses. And there's really only three gateways to getting successful into sales. And if I work on those areas and I go ahead and show them what their expectations are going to be and what their challenges are going to be up front, that means they can equip themselves that morning for what's going to happen that day. Mainly I've been doing door-to-door sales. And so that's been really interesting because I could do any type of sales, but the door-to-door sales is really kind of like the segue into what I call entrepreneurship. And so I don't even teach anybody to really, even if they're going in for a job, I don't teach them to go into a job, because a job, if you know what the acronym of job is, do you know what it is?
No, what is it?
Just over broke.
Well, you know what? That's very accurate.
Yeah.
It's very accurate.
There 4 types of people: entrepreneurs, investors, business owners, and then there's the workers.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 4, guess which ones don't get to be the millionaires?
It's the workers.
It's the workers, yeah. And so I always tell people, all the money's made from the neck up, not the neck down. We use the people from the neck down to make the money if we work from the neck up. So I work with that type of psychology when I'm actually approaching any case. As a matter of fact, I actually we did that heavily when me and you started our relationship, and you didn't even know what was really going on.
Right.
I know what's going on behind the scenes, and you don't really get to see the potential. The person doesn't get to see the potential until they see the results. And then once they see the results, then they start going, I get it. And then they go ahead and take off from there. I can't say that I have any 7-figure people that I've worked with, but I've got several people that are way in the high 60s, have no financial problems whatsoever, and they're successful in what they do, in anything that they do.
Well, yeah, that's incredible, and that is why I believe so much in what I'm doing, is because I came from a background where I was the worker and I wasn't making the money I wanted to make, and I thought, I think I can do this on my own and make a better living. And especially with your help and with your understanding of personality and sales, it's just been great. It's been incredible. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I want to encourage a lot of young entrepreneurs or just young hustlers in general that haven't yet stepped foot into the entrepreneurial circle. I want to inspire them to do so because we're going to get into it in a bit about what it's like being an entrepreneur. But, you know, it's a lot of work. You've got to be a hustler. You know that. You've got to be a worker. But it is much more satisfying than it is to be working for somebody. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're working for somebody and your mindset is that you're there as an entrepreneur, your employer never has to worry about if you're going to show up to work on time, if you're going to leave too early, if you're not prepared, because all that stuff is done even before you even get to what I would say a job, which it could be any type of sales, insurance, auto, uh, hot tub sales, door to door. It could be anything. It's the mindset that happens, and once they realize what they're made of before they even approach the day, is pretty much where the entrepreneurship starts, and it is hard work.
It's very hard work. It definitely is. Well, before we get into the entrepreneur stuff, I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit, or more so just dive deeper into really who you are and how you got started in this field and who Walt was when he was younger.
You mean when I had hair? Believe it or not, I had big curly hair at one time. So I have a condition called ADD, attention deficit disorder. So I can't read a book. If I can read a paragraph in a book, then that would be successful for me. I can't concentrate on one idea at a time. So it made college impossible for me because I barely passed high school. I mean, literally, I barely passed high school. And so I went into was a waiter and a bartender and went to Hawaii when I was like 19 years old. And I stayed there for about a year and a half and
Wow.
worked on my tan and my tennis and my surfing and got tired of that. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to do something pretty quick because I was getting tired of that. Here I am, 21 years old. I've already been doing it for a couple of years. And some dealer came into the restaurant, an auto dealer, and said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Sacramento, California. And he goes, well, yeah, I'm so-and-so, and I have this, that, and that. And I go, well, I think the nicest car I ever had, I think I paid $150 for back in 75 or 76. Can't remember. So I didn't know anything about auto dealerships, but he said, if you want to ever get into auto sales, you've got an automatic job with me. So I went there and I got a job there. And I started not doing very well the first couple of months because there was no teaching in the auto industry back in the 70s. And we were starting to compete with imports. I was working at like a Pontiac GMC lot, and Toyotas were starting to come out. Datsuns, they were called Datsuns before Nissans, things like, cars like that. Mitsubishis were coming out, cars like that. And so you had to really be on your toes in order to sell American cars. And, we sold them because they were bigger, for bigger families, they weren't for commuter cars or anything like that. And so I was put into a room and with a whole bunch of managers. Here I am, 21 years old. And they didn't say you're fired. They said, you're a disgrace. Now get out of here. And so I started walking out. And then all of a sudden, this manager come up that I really enjoyed working with. And his name was Dewey McDaniel. Now we're talking 50 years ago. I can still remember this guy's name, but I can still remember what he said. And he goes, come here, I want to talk to you. And so I walked into the dealership. We went in one of the booths and he goes, you know what the weird thing about this whole thing is? And I go, what? He goes, you can do this and you can be the best. And those words were like, I believed them, but I had no place to go. And he says, I want to go back into the management and I want to see if I could talk them into putting you on my team. And I went and I got on his team, and I was the top man. Nobody could touch me from that point on. And I was 21 years old, breaking records, selling cars, and all because of a belief system. I didn't believe in myself because nobody really ministered to me or put anything in, nobody poured anything to my life. My father was a salesman, owned Sacramento Kitchen Design, and but he was working all the time, and he never really knew how to actually pour into my life.
Mm-hmm.
But he made a living off of sales. And so I started progressing in the auto industry, and then from there I left the auto industry, went in what they call reinsurance in the insurance business. And what we did is we took large companies and we showed them how to take their money offshore and obtain wealth that way.
Okay.
Through products that we sold them. And then I was offered free. They offered my training for free, so I was able to start building and building training manuals, my own training manuals, using my own psychology behind what was really going on. And a lot of those training manuals were about what to say and what to do in what they call the steps of the sale. And that worked for a long, long time. And then I started thinking about what's going on behind why you greet a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
What is going behind why good eye contact is important? What's the psychology behind what you have to say to yourself before you actually go and attack the day? Because it's going to attack you. How can I prepare people for what psychologically is going to start crushing them during the daytime? And then I started coming up with words like miracle. There's a miracle out there going to happen today. I want to be a part of that miracle. And I started working in mindset, and I started getting into the psychology part of it, knowing that I couldn't go to school, couldn't go to college for it because I had the ADD. But I started running into and started hanging around groups of people that thought the same way I did. And we started discovering things together in all different fields, different sales, and different environments. And it really didn't even matter what we were selling. What mattered was the psychology behind what was actually happening. And so then you would come up with word tracks that would satisfy or complete those objectives. And so you can move on. And so I was just thinking, when I was with you, we actually created the sales process that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And how, we talked about how when you greet a customer, how to step back, don't try to sell anything, we talked about rejection. We talked about, out of the 50 homes, there's 2 people that have either want their windows washed, was thinking about getting their windows washed, or we're thinking about getting their gutters cleaned.
Their gutters cleaned. Yeah, just had the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And literally then about 3 days later, you go, Walt. And I go, what? And she said, man, I just started knocking on doors, and I don't even know, I just went out there, had an idea. And I thought, man, that was true entrepreneurship. That was just going out there and doing it. And so there's about 3 or 4 people like yourself that I've actually have worked with. I say coach, people say coaching, but really working with them, working alongside them. And the one thing that you have when you start thinking about what you're going to have to do in sales is going to be the convincing yourself, that you got to take the emotion out of it. Like I had one guy that I coached, and it was with Northwestern Mutual Life, which 99% of the people fail. Okay, this guy's a multimillionaire at this point, because he decided he was just going to go ahead and call 100 people a day, like his boss told him.
Mm-hmm.
And his boss says, this is how many people are going to reject you. This is how many people are going to hang up on you. But there's out of 100 people, there's somebody that just talked about it. And he just did that. And then, literally within 10 years, he owns his own agency. It's been about 15 years now. And he's probably got 15, 16 employees working for him. And he lives somewhere Sure, I haven't talked to him in a while. I think he lives like overlooking the ocean on the big island of Hawaii and conducts everything from there. It's
Wow.
just the craziest thing, you know. But that's the 1%. The 99% of the people get discouraged, or
Hmm.
of doing that. See, your comfort zone. In order to be an entrepreneur, you got to carve through that comfort zone. You have to carve through it. It's just like you just got to carve through it, and you got to have the right attitude. You have to be strong mentally, and you have to understand that you have to have people to actually help you get through these things and invest in yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And that is that's the whole part why I've become successful with door knocking. And for those of you that don't know, that is what I'm doing. And I'm driving most of my sales through door knocking. And Walt, I apologize. I've got my camera a little higher than I wanted it to be, so I'm kind of like looking down as we're speaking, but I am looking right at you. So just
Yeah,
know
no,
that.
I it looks good.
But the biggest thing that I found is the volume in which you can knock, or the if you can get in front of 100 people, you're going to make a sale. You're going to make money. And I tell my brother, my little brother came and door knocked with me one day. I've told all of the people that have worked for me so far over the summer, and the guy that I've got on now. I can't tell you how many times I've gone and door knocked, and I've gotten to door number 39, and I've had 39 no's or 39 no answers, right? And I get to the point, it's getting late, I'm getting hungry, and I'm just like, I should just pack it in and it's not my day today. But I proceeded, I continued, I just pushed through, and then on 41, I got a yes, and then on 42, I got a yes, and then on 45, I got a yes, and 47, and before you know it, I did this with my brother back in June. We were 39 doors in, no sales. By the time we got 50, we had $2,300 in sales and jobs, and we lined up our whole week. So it's
You
just a
called me that
matter.
day.
I called you that day, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Oh man, I remember that.
So it's
Yeah.
always it's important to push through. And you talked about how I wanted to talk about this. The first 3 months or so that you were doing that first sales job was a disaster.
Disaster.
I can't tell you how many people, myself, and how many people I've heard that get into sales, and the first however long is just a disaster. They feel like such a failure. I felt that way as well myself when I first started. But the people that stuck to it, just like that one guy that you said's got the beach on Hawaii, just like yourself, just like me, the people that prevail and they go through the adversity, they're the ones that are now successful or on their way to success. Is that correct?
Exactly right. They've literally taken the emotion out of that obstacle. Once you take the emotion out of it,
Yep.
then you can't get
Yep.
discouraged, because it's the emotions that move people. It can just encourage or discourage. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Which brings me in to my next topic. We talk a lot about this rejection.
Yeah.
What is rejection what's Walt's definition of rejection?
Okay, so this is kind of, I should have bullet pointed this. I should have done a little Excel on this. So the definition of rejection is anything that can come at a person that discourages them from moving forward. And so when I mean anything, I mean anything. It doesn't even have to be the customer. It could be, man, it's cloudy today or it's going to rain today. Why am I even pitching windows today? Why am I even pitching or whatever? I mean, it could be the fact that anything can discourage you. And so the trick is, how do you stay emotionally out of it? Why can entrepreneurs constantly stay emotionally out of those kind of situations when the majority of the people can't? That's the biggest question. And how come no more than 7 or 8% of the people can actually achieve that? And then the 85 or the 95%, whatever the percentage are, can't get past that obstacle. Stage fright, rejection, any type of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
what can we do? And then so the very first thing I talk about is that's what rejection is. But what really is rejection? And so then I went and I decided I was going to go ahead and just break it down. Your job as a salesperson, and sometimes I even think salesperson might even be the wrong,
Right.
term, and I don't even know if we have a right term for it. I just, when it comes to salespeople, what they have to do is they have to convince themselves that everything is done. There's a system for everything, and everything has to be done systematically. A case in point, one of the things that you did, and this is why I knew you were an entrepreneur. The very first thing I asked you is, okay, show me some statistics of what it looks like. Within 5 minutes, I had on my phone the whole Excel schematic, and I'm going, you are literally benchmarking everything that you do so you can see exactly what's going on. So once I get it put on paper, then I can go ahead and I can talk about discouragement. And I can talk about rejection. There is no such thing as rejection in sales. What it is if I could remove the word rejection altogether and say to myself, okay, two things are going to happen when I meet a person. My products and services are going to line up with his thinking, or they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, being a disc expert, there's the dominant, there's the influencer, there's the steady, and then there's the conscientiousness. And this might be another podcast, to tell you the truth, because it's very interesting. But our defenses are up, and we don't act like ourselves when we're either feeling threatened, being talked into something we want to do, we don't want to do. We don't know where a person's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't trust a person. We don't know if we like them or not. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slam the door. I'm going to tell you, I don't need anything. Even before, how many times did you get the door slammed you and you haven't even given your product yet?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not interested. Not interested. I haven't even said anything. I was just going to tell you your house is on fire. Sorry. I mean, you don't even know what I'm here for. So yeah, I've gotten that a lot.
Basically. So if I said, we can do, so you could take this to anything. You could take it to, let's say a guy wants to sell insurance, or let's say that you have a sales force that has to call people and they have to call a certain amount a day. Well, now I can lay down expectations. Here's the expectation. The expectation is that your products and services aren't going to line up. And I don't want you to spend a lot of time on those people. I mean, if they say they're not interested, then I would rather give them a non-confrontational something a memorandum that they'll remember me, is that when I shut the door, at least they can say, well, that guy was pleasant. He didn't pressure me at all. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we were talking about was in your business was having a nice, large brochure with thick paper that has a menu that looks a little bit like a car wash. And on the back is a big $50 coupon. And all of a sudden you went, well, I kind of like that idea. Do you remember that the other day?
I remember that. Yeah.
That in our coaching. And then we leave. What that does is that releases us to move on. I can release myself from that customer. He can release himself from me, and then I can move on, because statistics show I got to go to 48 or 50 doors. So I want to get to the door where my products and services line up with their thinking. I want somebody on the phone to go, oh man, we were just thinking about that the other day. Our company doesn't have health insurance. We were just talking about it. And we've been thinking about getting a quote. Can you quote us? And you're sitting there going, oh, that's nice. But how many people didn't it line up with before you got to that person? So if I had a basket of 50 eggs and they're all white, but one is orange, I want the orange one.
Right.
But I can't see the orange one yet until I start peeling back all the other eggs until I can get to the orange one. And every sales process has a system. Door knocking, excuse me, phone calls, people coming into their store, Facebook, so many people are going to go ahead and respond. And so I'm looking for the statistics part of it. That way I can go ahead and teach my people to, there's a good segue to move your emotions out of it, because emotions has nothing to do with it.
Right.
What is important is the motion, not the emotion, the motion of keep knocking on those doors till
Mm-hmm.
somebody lines up to what you're saying. That way you're less discouraged, you're mentally stronger, and you're going to be mentally able to help that person that aligns with the products.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
that's it. You do that every day. Matter of fact, it gets to the point where you're probably so good right now, it's kind of a bored. You're probably getting bored just introducing yourself 50 times a day. This is getting old. Or, hey, this is John. He's working with me today. This is Johnny's working with me today. This is Johnny's working with me today. This is, do that 50 times a day for 4 days. Once
Yeah,
you
no,
get
I
so good
totally
at your
understand.
sales, then all of a sudden something else gets bored. Oh man, I don't want to go up because I know exactly what I'm going to say every day. But that's the machine.
Yeah,
That's the
well,
precision machine.
I wanted to say that when you were talking about people getting discouraged and then having the numbers, I would, I every time I would go door knock, I would record everything that happened. So I would record, first of all, I would start with a goal. I'm going to knock this many doors. Or I'm going to hit this much in revenue. And then I've got my door knocks. I've got my conversations or people that answer the door. I've got my quotes given, and then I've got my sales. And I tally everything, and then I put it in a spreadsheet. And I make sure over time I know, and this is how when you talk about taking emotion out of it, it's statistics now. It's numbers. It's there in front of you. This is what I have to do in order to make this many sales.
Exactly.
And right then, that for a lot of people at least, and for me definitely, it takes the emotion out.
Yeah. It automatically does. Then what's the next thing you get to work on? Your closing ratio.
Exactly.
Now you go ahead and say, okay, if I'm just looking for that diamond in the rough, or I'm just looking for that orange egg, or I'm just looking for me to line up with somebody that wants to line up with me that day, it just so happens they talked about it. I want to get to that person. But what about then after, and if I get that, and if I achieve that every day, and you said you were doing $600 of sales, so that was $12,000 a month. But then again, what happens is once your sales skills get sharpened, like all of a sudden you start learning about personalities, and all of a sudden a D comes to the door and says, I really don't want anything. Well, okay, no problem. What's the first thing to do? We step back. Here, let me just leave you with that. There's a $50 coupon on it. And then I'll command the customer. Make sure the next thing you do is put this right in your junk drawer. Just shove it right in the bottom. I mean, you're telling the guy, you know what the customer's going to do, or every person's going to do? He's probably going to go and do exactly what you say, because people do what you say. Now you got a $50 coupon every time he opens the drawer to get his tape measure, and he sees that coupon. And all of a sudden he's going to see a couple of streaks on the window, or a light beam's going to come in. You know how like on a car and how it's dirty.
Right. And you see all the dust and dirt.
Go, man, I can get $50 off. And he calls. Okay. So all of a sudden now you're getting some sales a few days ago you didn't know about, because you were pleasant. The last thing he remembers is, wow, this guy didn't push me at all. Mentally, he backed off, hand me something that would benefit me in a future date, and off he went. And all of a sudden those people start, then your closing ratio goes up, and then a person goes, and then all of a sudden he's a D, and then or let's say a lady answers the door, and then you present yourself the way you present yourself since the day I met you. You look, you look professional, good eye contact. I mean, you got, there's sometimes people have natural attributes that make people want to do business with them. And all of a sudden she goes, no, I don't really want to do this stuff. And you hand them the menu, and then you say, oh, by the way, and then of course we looked at the home and we found out that the windows were dirty. And so that might be the trigger point. And then you're going to say, hey, this top one right here, we're doing the free sealant with it if you want to go ahead and do it today. And then she goes, oh, you remind me of my sister's cousins that worked at Taco Bell back in Detroit. And all of a sudden now you're in another city, right? And all of a sudden now you have what? A kind person. And all of a sudden they're smiling, they like you. And then all of a sudden what they're doing is they're giving you the opportunity to shine. like a diamond, the smile, the pleasant,
Right.
the stuff. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they go, "Oh, you're such a nice young man. Oh, yes, let's go ahead and do it. It's only $250." And I got the $50 off, and you're going to seal it. You mean to tell me you'll seal it so this winter I don't have to worry about the any rot or anything? That's exactly what I'm saying, man. When we do good work, and we don't even take a dime until we're done. We want you to fully inspect every window before you even give us a dime. And all of a sudden, you're learning. There's where your sales skills going, and all of a sudden now you're escalating to the point where your closing ratio is getting stupid. And
So
then,
basically
yeah,
what you're saying for people, for those that don't fully understand sales, want to get into it, want to be an entrepreneur, what you're saying is there's different stages. We can go from stage one where it's just go do it. Just go and knock this many doors. You're going to make a sale. And then as they get comfortable with that, hey, now we can turn that 1 into 50. You go and knock 50 doors, you're going to get a sale. We can start turning that into 1 in 30, 1 in 20, 1 in 15 sales because you
exactly
can
right.
increase your closing ratio, correct?
Yes. Or 1 in 50, 2 in 50, 3 in 50, 4 in 50, and then 5 in 50. All of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
you're doing 5 houses. So
Mm-hmm.
you could look at it either way. In your case, you'd probably look at it that way because you want to expand.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. And so, but the trick is, how do I get that person to get on the other side? So he sees that. Well, we got to make sure that we work alongside him, and we
Mm-hmm.
hold his hand, and we may, and understand there's discouragement out there, but it's not discouragement. It's not resistance. It is just the fact that your product isn't lining up with theirs today. That's all it is. Don't get emotional about it.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
so then this is where I get excited, because you're at that point right now where you're starting to find out that you can start using your personality and your closing techniques. And people want to be sold. I mean, they want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. Excuse me. But when you were talking about the four areas, let me just kind of show you how this works. And this is kind of a coaching session that I was going to work with you. I'll just show you a concept of what I do right now. So there's 4 things of knowledge. One is when you first approach, like this gentleman that we're interviewing right now, he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Right.
But as soon as he goes out with you, he goes, "Man, I know that I don't know a lot." And all of a sudden, the third part, he's going out and doing it himself. He's a little sloppy, fighting discouragement, but he's making that 1 out of 50 sales. And all of a sudden, he's making 2 out of 50, and he's starting to get good. And all of a sudden, the word tracks are now not our word tracks that we're giving him. Now he's starting to use his own word tracks because personality is starting to infiltrate into him. And then there's the 4th phase, which is everything that comes out of my mouth is friggin' beautiful. The guy, you're gonna go to a door someday. You could tell this, you're gonna go to a door someday, and they're gonna go, "Man, that's just too much money." And you're gonna say, "Do you know what? Isn't that funny how the price of things are going up?" Me and my fiance went to the mall the other day to look at down blankets. Even the price of down is going up. And all of a sudden the customer laughs. "Oh, where do I sign? Go do it. And I'll have your check ready for you when you're done." Nothing bothers you. It's just nothing bothers you anymore because you've got the formula down. You got the magic down. And it's called the art of persuasion. And it's what makes the
Mm-hmm.
world go round.
Yeah, I like the making people feel as if it's not a sales pitch or a sales call. One of the things I like to do in this typically works for, I would say, an older generation, is, when someone objects to a price at, say, $400, do the windows for $400, and she's like, it's just too much. And I said, well, I tell you what, we've been out here, me and Ben here, we've been working really hard. We've been out here for a few hours. We're pretty thirsty. If you go and get us 2 bottles of water, we'll knock it down to 300 and we'll make it look really good for you. And then all of a sudden they're just for some bottles of water, all right, deal. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that, and it's worked. In fact, one of the times I did it, she didn't bring us any bottle of water. We never got any water, but we still got the job.
I hear you. How many
So
times have you done a job and you're putty in their hands? They bring you in, they feed you. It's just, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just all about just, I mean, how many seconds do you have to make an impression on a customer? And then within
yeah,
an hour,
exactly.
like you're sitting at their table, they're trying to hook you up with their daughter. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, you're such a nice young man. I gotta go. I got a daughter for you, or whatever. It's just it's crazy, and that's the magic of sales. That's the
Mhm.
miracle of sales. And I like to talk about the miracle of sales. The definition of miracle is something that happens that we just don't know why it happened, but it happened in our favor.
Mhm.
And it's like I said, getting up every morning and man, there's a miracle out there, and I just want to be a part of it. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is. I want to take somebody that was so crabby and I want him to shake my hand so hard. And that, I mean, and that he's so appreciative that not only did I make a customer, I made a raving, like, I got a guy.
Right.
You want to get so good that, like, when they go, hey, man, I noticed you got your, boy, what happened to your driveway? It looks nice. And the guy, he goes, I got a guy. Hang on just one second. He runs and gets your card.
Mhm.
Can't wait to give your card to this guy. And all of a sudden now you got a raving fan. All of a sudden now you got another stream. You got people that are raving about you.
Yeah, that's
Crazy. So
that's the
how many
referral
streams of
process.
income do you have when you're smiling? And all you have to do is just one thing. What is that thing? Take rejection and shove it out of the way. And
Yes.
everything opens up for you, miracles. And you get good, and you get real good. You
Yeah,
get so good that
it's
it's
a
like,
relationship building process. It definitely
yeah.
is a relationship building process. Absolutely.
Well,
Some of my closest friends, my business partners to this day, we were in a client salesman, if you want to call it that, relationship for a long time. And today, I've got some of my closest friends and my business partners that were old clients of mine. So it's relationship building, definitely is.
when I very first started, when we started working together in coaching, you told me about your fiance, and I said, well, like, and I kind of baited you a little bit. I said, have you ever noticed that it's you and your fiance against the world?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're the team,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you. Okay, all right. Well, that's the same relationship you need with a customer. It's you and that customer against the world. I tell that to everybody. I want them to mentally think that they're having a cup of coffee with you in their little nook next to the kitchen, and you guys are just solving the world's problems. Because that's what sales is being a problem solver. I mean, you went to that lady who said $400 was too much. Your problem is you have a problem. Your windows look like terrible.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to make sure that every window shines like a diamond, one house at a time. You know, and you also solved a problem. The other problem was she thought it was too high. You had room to negotiate with the lady.
Mm-hmm.
You negotiated, and all of a sudden you solved that problem. So how many problems did you solve? About two or three.
Several
Starts
in
with
one,
you got
exactly.
her to like you. Hey, that was a problem. That's solved. She likes you now.
Mm-hmm.
You made her aware that her windows or whatever service needed. And then the other problem is she needed to make it affordable in her mind. So
Mm-hmm.
really you just got to keep solving problems.
Yeah, definitely. The world has a lot of problems, and that means that there's a lot of problems to be solved, but there's a lot of money to be made.
Oh, a lot of money. There's
There's a
not a
lot,
lack of money in this world.
and I think a lot of people think that there's not a lot of money out there, and that's just wrong. That's just not true. It's not true. There's a lot of money to be made. Here's what I wanted to ask you about, Walt. You're a you would call yourself a performance coach, or would you call yourself a sales coach, or what would your title be? What would you call
It would be
yourself?
I used to be a sales coach, but I go into many areas now. So I call myself like a professional coach. Actually, like a life coach, and I really don't even. Yeah, it's more like a life coach, and I can work in sales, I can work in personalities, and I can work in different areas. So basically, whenever a person starts telling me what their situation is, I start figuring out how we can solve that problem for that person. So I've got personal, I got people with, that I work with for personal reasons, for business coaching, for sales, and for entrepreneurship. But mostly the last three: entrepreneurship, sales, and things like that. Not mostly the personal coach, because I have a lot of personal problems myself. I'm still trying to solve. I just, to be honest with you. So, but I have these other areas where I have like, I have the keys to help people that are having those doors where they're having a lot of stuff. They can't unlock some of the things that they need to in order to get to the other side. I work with that.
Now,
And rejection is one of them.
Rejection's definitely it's a huge one. It keeps so many people from stepping forward, from moving forward.
Yeah.
How important has your studies and your experience with personality and the DISC assessment? How important has that been in each one of those fields? Entrepreneurship, sales coaching, performance, personal coaching, because it's all encompassing when it comes to personality. Is that correct?
Yeah. I springboard off the DISC assessments. I springboard off them, which means I won't do anything until I get a personality profile on you. What's the very first thing I said? I ain't talking to you. You got to do it. And then you didn't do it that night. I had to do it the next day. But once I had that, now I have a blueprint to work with. Now I don't see the home built yet. I can see the home built. All you can see is a piece of land right now. I can see what it's going to look like as the finished product. And so I use it in all those, and it works. I've tried Briggs, Wells and Briggs. I've tried the color, which is sort of like the DISC. But the one that really is really centered towards success and how to approach success is the DISC personality profile. And that's why I decided to go with them. And to be quite frank with you, when I was actually in business, I could probably say that I probably have interpreted over 13,000 DISC assessments.
Wow.
Not 1,300 or 130, 13,000. Remember, I did it for 20 years. I got certified in 2005. And then retired. Well, I haven't really retired, and I just have slowed down. But I officially retired in I think November of 2022. So 17 years of just solid doing this day in and day out. Matter of fact, I even have my own algorithm in this particular DISC association that I'm at. It says Walt's algorithm.
Interesting.
Because I actually created an algorithm for a certain sales.
And that's what's inside of your sales hire? Yeah. Interesting.
Now, having said that, what did I say at the beginning of the podcast? I've actually transcended past that where I'll work with any personality. My classic example is I have my son, and I can't talk about this in this podcast too much because we need to do the DISC podcast in order to understand it.
Yeah.
But my son is an S, a solid S, which is steady. He should do nothing but, statistically, he should do nothing but turn a wrench. But he wanted to get in sales. So wherever he's worked at, he's always been top in his sales. Right now he's working for a plumbing company, and they got all these little pictures of all these guys, and they got his big picture on the left. Because ever since he hit that plumbing company, he's been number one since the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But he's not a natural born salesperson. So what I've done is I've taken the challenge to say, I don't care what personality you are. Let me teach you the personalities, and let me teach you how you can take your personality to persuade people. And by the way, he's just like you in terms of the physical appearance. Looks good, stays neat, good eye contact and all that. Very pleasant to talk to, except for he's still working on, he's going to be successful, but he's going to be mostly word tracks his whole life. Because he doesn't understand the psychological part. He's just a steady. He'll just do whatever I tell him. And now he's starting to invest in himself and stuff like that. But by going to trainings and stuff like that. But he literally is somebody that statistically shouldn't even be in sales. But there's way more money in selling plumbing products as there is than changing out a sink, I guess.
So there's not really like, when you think of a sales guy and a dominant sales guy, you think being a driver, being a dominant personality, usually that's what you think as a sales guy is a successful salesman. But that's not really true.
And now that I've been doing this for so long, I got to tell you right now, that's not accurate anymore. And I can't tell you how many years I worked off that. Now that I'm on the other side, like this example of this new hire is he's a peacemaker. I mean, he's going to be easily discouraged, has to have a lot of people around him. Okay. But now I know how to approach him to where I can get him on his own. I can have a better percentage of him being successful, and two, I can get him on his own faster. My job is to get them successful and on their own, up and running on that 4, which everything comes out of my mouth is beautiful. But now I know how to approach him, and I call it sales survival, because I know the challenges he's going to have now. And now I can actually work on those challenges. I can call him up 3 days from now and go, tell me how you were discouraged today. And he'll go, oh, it was a terrible day. Because I already know his personality. He's going to dwell on that stuff. But what if I can attack that early and let him know every morning? Let me tell you what's going to happen. I might do the Ronald Reagan story. I don't know if you probably were. I know Roosevelt was your favorite president, but I remember one time he said he was working for, he was working on a farm in the summer. This is a president of the United States telling a story. Okay. Back in like 1980 or something. And he said, something like, we want you to clean out the manure in there. And he started clearing out the manure, and he was hired with 2 or 3 other guys, and those guys quit. And the farmer came up to him and says, hey, all your friends quit. He goes, yeah, I noticed they're gone. And he goes, well, why are you still here? He goes, with all this manure, there's got to be a pony in this pile somewhere. And it goes back to that movie we were talking about. I do have a chance. I can't remember. It was Dumb or Dumber. But anyway, I can get into storytelling, so I got to watch out. But anyway, but I can talk to him like that. So look at how you're laughing. I can get him laughing. If me and you team up and we coach him that way and go, let me tell you what your challenges are today based on your personality. I mean, he can hit the first door and the guy can slam it, and then he's going to go have a cup of coffee and telling you he's knocking on doors, and he's at Starbucks figuring out how he's going to tell you how to quit.
Well, can I tell you something? I went over some of the stuff with him that we had talked about. But one of the things that I do this for everybody, but I just really like to be encouraging. Even if somebody messes up and I have to get on to them, I still am encouraging at the end, like, hey, I'm not gonna get mad at you about this. I just want you to learn and grow so that later in life you've experienced this mistake or whatever it is. But for this guy, I'm always encouraging at the end of the day, hey man, you did a really good job. You did a really good job. Here's what we're going to work on. And he came to me the other day and he said, you're the first person to ever really just put into me, instead of expecting an output, you're putting into me. You're the first guy that's ever done that. So he's really excited to be working with me, and I'm really excited to be, semi mentoring him, if you will. So it's a cool feeling when you get to help somebody that way.
Well, that was my doing McDaniel. And by the way, you're going to get more as you got to, this is why I like working with younger entrepreneurs. They have no idea what their potential is. I mean, no idea. I mean, it's the craziest thing. And so the average person will never be able to experience that. They'll never be able to experience it unless it takes people like you or me to actually open up their minds and to speak into their lives. And here's the deal. It's almost like sales. It's not, well, I mean, sales, but as you start progressing, remember, you're only 26. As you start progressing, you're going to find out that more people you're only going to be able to speak into 1 or 2% of the people's lives. The rest of them will not break that chain. They will not
Right.
go past. They will not pay the price to get to the other side.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you about that here just a sec. But that's the whole point of why I'm doing this podcast and kind of doing a few other things that I am doing at the moment is to really inspire that 2 or 3% of the population that's just kind of on the fence or maybe just doesn't have that aspiration quite yet. They're not quite aware of it, that they can do something for themselves, that they can start a business and be an entrepreneur. That's why I'm doing this. It's to build that awareness and build that inspiration so that we can get more people like myself and like you to take that leap and jump into that entrepreneurial circle. Which this is the question I wanted to ask you. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. You've got obviously way more experience, way more years in the entrepreneur space, being a business owner and going through the grind and being successful. What I want to say this, I want to ask this question properly. What does it take to be an entrepreneur, and what is the price that you have to pay? Because it's not always uphill.
Yeah. The very first thing I'm going to say is that I still, as much as I've been working in this space, I find very few, if almost 0% of the people that don't have the entrepreneur spirit will never be an entrepreneur in any scale. In order to be an entrepreneur, somebody has had to have told you through several times in your life that you're an unrealistic thinker, that you're a dreamer, that well, actually those two things, that because we entrepreneurs themselves, whatever degree you're in, they work on a level that where the checks and balances aren't the same for, let's say, the mass majority. They're willing to take the risks. They're willing to I was like Elon Musk. He started ramping up Tesla in 2008, which is when the biggest car crash was going on. There's no age limit. There's no people don't wait for the perfect timing. They just go out and start getting it. Their mindset starts working that way. They start hanging around people that'll get them better. They don't start, they start. I remember when I started hanging around people that were talking about cost segregation, because I have several rentals, and about how you can, if you want to take a rental property and cost segregate it and take the maximum tax benefit out of it, by just deducting most of it the first 4 or 5 years instead of depreciating a property 30 years. And so let's say when an opportunity like that gets presented to you, there's two reactions. One is, oh man, the IRS is going to come down on me. No way. This is just no way. And then there's the other reaction. You got to be kidding me. Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
I had to absorb it all. So when I find avenues where I can make money or I can be successful, I just, entrepreneurs, they immerse in it. They just absolutely immerse in every thought process that goes along with it. Sometimes you can ask, do you sleep 8 hours a night? Oh yeah, I sleep 8 hours a night. You're probably not an entrepreneur. Most of entrepreneurs' creative stuff starts at about 2 a.m. They're up going, they might go to bed at 2 or 3. So there are some natural attributes to entrepreneurs. And then from the entrepreneur part, you'll also find out that there is the leadership part. Like when you were talking about, just about 10 minutes ago, when you were talking about working with that new guy and already working with them, that's the leadership part. That's not the entrepreneurship. You're teaching him how to be an entrepreneur, and he may never be an entrepreneur. He may be your employee, your right-hand man for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But you want him to get successful no matter where he's going to be. If you get to plug him in or whatever. So entrepreneurship is not as selfish as it's all about me, me, and me. It's about getting out there and seeing how many people that can become enlightened in this area, in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And geez, that's all I can say about that. Did I answer your question?
It did, I mean, the explanation was that not everybody can do that. Not everybody can lead, can inspire, and that's okay. That's okay that not everybody can do that, but it does take a I guess specific or special individual to really immerse themselves, like you said, and not just dip the toe.
Yeah. And like, let me just kind of, let me talk about you for a second. Okay. I was excited the very first time that I started talking to you. You were actually referred to by a coach I think it was, who was your boss?
Jarrett.
Yeah, it was Jared at that particular time. And Jared's a nice guy, and I enjoy him, and we still have conversations every once in a while, but not as much as I saw the potential in you. And then I started looking at some of the other students that I have throughout. I got another one that I coach that lives in a beautiful city like near the ocean, like just above LA, and the guy who lives in Hawaii. And what path you're going down is a path to, let me just kind of give you what your future is, and it's going to encourage you. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be way before 40. I guarantee you that. You're not only are you going to own and operate several businesses, that's not going to be your biggest concern, because you're going to be you already have the ability to set those up to where you don't really have to be there as much. You'll be working on entrepreneurs. You'll be working on helping other people become entrepreneurs and leaders, because you already have the spirit. You couldn't settle for working. Yeah, I heard every one of your podcasts in the last 4 days. As a matter of fact, make sure you number them, so I know, because I have to look at how many days. I mean, that was 11 days, that was 10 days. But you might want to go podcast number 1, number 2, number 3.
I'll go through some numbers in there.
And then you talked about your father, and you talked about your upbringing, and then you talked about things that you like to do. And not only are you going to run several businesses, and you're going to lead, and you're going to be and still be an entrepreneur, but you're going to be able to do all those leisurely things of your passion, because the fact that entrepreneurs they're busy, but they're not busy enough to where they can't go do their own thing. And so not only are you going to be running several businesses, you're going to be mentoring and coaching several people, probably for free, unless you make that a business itself, but you'll also be able to do whatever you want to do. And so not everybody can say that. Matter of fact, the average person, I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at for saying average, but the majority of the people will never have that luxury. There's an old Chinese proverb, and if I can remember, it says, it only comes after a long and hard journey, and after practicing what is most difficult to practice, and by enduring what is most difficult to endure. And if you don't do those, then you will never know about it. You'll never know. You'll never be allowed to know about it unless you actually do these things. So the majority of people will never have the luxury of knowing what it's ever going to be like on the other side. And by the way, the money just rolls in. That just, I mean, it just rolls in. Yeah. You realize at 26, I can put you in a helicopter, drop you off in any city, and you can make 15 grand that month. Can I tell you something? 15 grand with no overhead is a lot of money for just dropping somebody off in a helicopter.
And that's why I believe in this so much, is because in any city you can go door to door. And that's why I like door to door so much, because you can Instead of like I've been in the shoes where I've set up a website, I've set up a business, and I put some dollars into paid advertising, and I just thought this is it. We're I'm gonna have a house in Italy by next year. We're gonna do this, and nobody showed up. Nothing happened. And then I was in the shoes of where I was like, I've got to go get in front of people. I've got to take action. And that was where the door to door happened. And when I did that and I realized that, I mean, like I'm making the most money I've ever made in my life by myself. And anybody can do this. I mean, anybody that just stays, and I don't mean anybody like we were talking about, anybody can be an entrepreneur, but I mean, if you just stay consistent and go through the adversity, you can do this. And it's really not that difficult. And that's what I want people to understand is, you know, and I want to inspire them to do that because it's a simple, it's a simple process. When you break it all down, let's just take window cleaning, for example. I started with no money, with no equipment, and I went and sold jobs and knocked on doors. And when I finally got the job, then I went into Home Depot and I bought a squeegee and I bought a brush. And that's all I started with. And that's what I'm getting at is like whoever's listening to this podcast, you can do that too with no money, with no equipment. And that's just why it's like it's extremely I believe in this so much because it's so possible.
It's, I mean, you learn, and let me tell you some of the stuff you didn't learn that you're learning right now. What's the best business to start? One that has no overhead, no marketing costs, and no materials. You don't have to worry about things not getting delivered or getting stolen off your porch. It's a service. And that, I mean, it's the same thing with when I was thinking about sales hire. What can I do in order to keep myself occupied where I don't have to put any money up front? I have no overhead. And that's the same thing I did with sales hire. So I started the same business you did. I can call any company. I right now, if I wanted to today, I can get on the internet and go to Indeed.com and look for companies that are looking for salespeople and call them up. Now watch, I don't even have to worry about a gatekeeper. I can just say, hey, listen, can I talk to your hiring manager? They can't. There's no like filtering the call. They immediately send you right to the guy because they need a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm not actually here for sales. I'm here to ask you a couple questions. Do you have a second? And usually in the business world, business to business, they go, yeah, but make it quick. Yeah, I'll make it fast, quick, in a hurry, Yeah, and I'll say, okay, have you ever used outside help for applicants to hire applicants? Well, yes, I have, or no, I haven't. No matter what they say, I said, oh, I think we could be a good fit because I have a low cost way of getting people in where I can save you a ton of time, and I do everything from cradle to grave. All you have to do is hire them. That's all you have to do. And you don't have to pay up front. Is that something you'd be interested in? And what do you think? 8 out of 10. And they go, yeah, that sounds good. And how much is it? I don't know. You tell me. I haven't even established a price. Just like you didn't know either. That's exactly how I started sales hire. I can make $1,000 by 2:00 today. And all I have to do is run free ads in Indeed on sales hire. And then my job is to make is I found out statistically that if they're on the phone and they just put an application in, right? My response time, it could be immediate because I'm just waiting for somebody on this job. Not only can I, and I know they're going to apply 3 or 4 more jobs on Indeed before they hang up their phone. I'm going to go ahead and look at the resume real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and respond to them. So it hits their phone and then they're going to hit it. And then I'm going to try to get them to do a disc assessment and a visual Zoom call all within a half an hour.
Wow.
And then I'm selling the applicant on the company. And now he can't wait to get in an interview. So I mean, that's another thing. And I don't have to door knock. I can sit here and just get fat and eat chips and corn dogs and do that. So it's
clever.
What you did is clever. Yeah. The only thing is there's no effort to this. And that's what entrepreneurs, they just figure out ways, And so that's like I'm saying, that's where you're going to be before you're 40, way before you're 40. And that's what's so interesting. I can't wait to see. I like to get on the coattails of all these people that take the rides, you know? It's just the craziest thing.
Well, I can't be more appreciative just for your support, your training, your encouragement, because that's been a huge thing for me. Like you were saying earlier, how that one guy that started you off in sales, what did he tell you? He said, "You can do this."
You can do it.
And
That's
you
all he
always and
said.
you keep telling me that every phone call, every time man, you're going to make it. You're going to do this, and
Yeah.
it's extremely encouraging for me.
I believed it. So I had nowhere to go. Well, I had a guy that looked me straight in the eyes. I already knew that, yeah, it was the craziest thing. Words are important. I would have never known. What if nobody in
Yeah,
my whole life
exactly.
never did that again? I don't know what I would have been, a waiter, or I don't know. I'd have probably done something, but but I would never have been able to crack the code and get to the other
Yeah.
side to actually be helping other people. I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm nowhere near as successful financially as some of my people that I worked alongside coaching. I mean, they've done way. The guy I was telling you about was in Santa Barbara. I mean, he oh, I mean, I got success. Wait for 15 more years and you got all these success stories. And I mean, it just wakes you up in the morning. You know what I mean?
Well, it's exciting because that's really what I live for, is to help people. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about personality types. I don't know if you know much about the Enneagram, but I am a strong helper in the
Yeah.
Enneagram. Meaning I love to help people. It's what gives me energy. It's what gives me excitement. So I'm excited for that. While we're getting close here to the end, but I wanted to ask you again. This is for people that are in that between stage of where they're like, I want to start a business, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm not sure, or just some of those people that are already in it, but they want to progress more. And what I would like to ask you is, when it comes to young men, because I tailor mostly to men, but it can be women too, that are in their early teen, or I should say late teens and 20s, or even up until their late 30s. I talked earlier in a few other podcasts about how important building skills are. What would you say are some extremely important skills to build to ensure that they are successful being an entrepreneur?
Well, I wouldn't start with skills. I would start with hanging around the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Start looking for people that are smart, that have already kind of had little successes. Young people can join. There's these groups that you can join on Facebook. There's these groups in every city. You call a chamber of commerce and go, is there any think groups going on, or is there any groups where I can go for free, and like they're once a month? They're brainstorm groups, things like that, and start sitting in on those and listening to some of what's going on with those people. And then just, that's where I would start. I would start with, and that's called investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And hang around people that are thinking those kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
uh, instead of what a normal 15 to 20-year-old thinks about. I mean, and start thinking ahead. So I would start getting into think groups, start an entrepreneur group, read an entrepreneur book, and then have everybody read that book, and then come in and just
Mm-hmm.
discuss that book. But the first thing I do is call the Chamber of Commerce where you live and go, hey, listen, I'm a young entrepreneur. Where do I start? Hey, well, we got this thing that goes on every other Thursday for the youth leadership. Why don't you come to that? It's between 6:30 and 8 o'clock, and you get free cookies or whatever, and sit in on those meetings. And I don't know, if I was to do it all over again, I lived on a boat in the San Francisco Bay Area, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably, because right now they give away boats. I don't know, people don't know this, but if you're 18 or 19 or 20 years old, you can literally go to any marina and say, are they giving away boats? Or you can get in Facebook groups or where they're giving away a boat.
Wow.
Go ahead and pay the dock fee, which is $300 to $400 or $500 per month. Get a roommate with you, another buddy with you, and then go start working for a real estate office or go start working for an investment company. Like in the Bay Area, a classic example, there's a place called Jack London Square. They probably got 3 or 4 35-foot sailboats there. They're leaking water and everything. I mean, but they're there, right?
Wow.
Work on that boat, sand it on your days off, and go work for investment firms and be around those types of people. Sadly, I don't know what to tell you about the college experience. I would almost, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I don't know if college is
yeah,
for you. Boy, I could get slapped in the face a lot for that. Let me tell you.
I mean, I talked about that on one of my last podcasts, and I know it's controversial. But like I said it on my last podcast, I'll say it here: college makes you a worker. College is designed to make you an employee, and I stand by that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing about entrepreneurs are free thinkers. So that's where I would start. I would start thinking in those terms, no matter what age you are. I would start breaking out of the box. Usually what keeps you behind is the mindset of all the people that are around you. And so if you want to have a limited mindset, then you can't hang around people who have limited mindsets. You got to start hanging around people that are successful.
I absolutely agree with you. That's a great tip. I'm glad you brought that up, but
That'd be the
absolutely agree. Get around the right people. What's the saying? You become the average of the 5 people you most hang around with.
Yeah. Or I'm trying to think of the guy. I think it was John Maxwell said there's a thing that's called the 7 Laws of Leadership. But it's a good book to read, by the way. And one of them is the law of the lid, which means a person making $70,000 can't teach you how to make $500,000. Hang around the people that are making $500,000. My son literally had weekly meetings with Elon Musk because he was the head of one of the departments, and he was 29 years old at the time. And I go, I'd spend $1,000 to be in a meeting with Elon Musk. Now I could probably go to jail for this, but he would literally get on the Zoom meetings and he would literally video chat me in with the mute button so I can watch how that man talked. And he talks in.
That's exciting. That's interesting. Wow, that's a cool experience there.
Yeah.
What was your experience with that? What did you take away from him?
I learned, first of all, what I learned with Elon Musk is that he talks in such direct, general language. First of all, it takes you 3 or 4 times before you can understand that he doesn't finish words. On TV, he might finish words, but now when he's talking into a meeting, this is how he talks. Hey, we lost $90 million because of the fact that we're letting the solar roofs go into the next week. We lost $90 million in a quarter. I mean, this guy talks we're worried about our checkbooks, having service fees because we don't have 100 in them, and he's concerned about losing $90 million. And he goes, and so the conversation will go something like this: I want to start a roof on Monday and finish it by Friday. By next week, I want this problem solved. And whatever your department is, marketing, human resources. Like one of the biggest things was human resources is they were using Tesla's schematic or outline of how to hire roofers, and they were always having labor problems. And so somebody suggested to him, listen, roofers, they get in fights and people, and, they could have a DUI They can have, they can owe lots of child support. They can, let's see what, they can have a restraining order on them, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean they're not good roofers. And
Uh-huh.
so if you want we need more people. In order to get more people that have the mentality to get on a roof at 110 degrees and have the heat of the roof burn right through their boots. These are the kind of these are the kind of people they
Right.
need to hire. They might not have teeth. They probably didn't have a dental plan or whatever, and they don't present themselves well sometimes. So he'll go, okay, that's it. Human resources, take all those restraints off, and all of a sudden the labor problem is solved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody else suggested, hey, we got 75,000 square feet of office space in Buffalo, New York, we're not using. How about we send a team up there for 6 months and let's go ahead and let's build 3 houses in there and let's just rip off and put roofs on every week until we can figure it out. And so you want to talk about entrepreneurship to the max.
Yeah.
That's that, he's taught, he goes, okay, that's it. What's it going to cost us? Well, it's going to cost us $13 million to do this. And it's going to cost us $110 million to have it. And then whatever. He goes, okay, fine, go. I like it. Never
Efficiency.
calculates it in his mind. He just likes the idea. Now, halfway through it, he might not like it and cut it off. But so that's what I learned from
Yeah.
Elon Musk. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I was in
Wow.
3 sessions with him.
Wow. That's
It was amazing. And he talks in Ebonics. He will never finish a word, let alone a sentence, in a private meeting with his people. You have to adapt to him,
yeah.
or you're just not going to be there.
Efficiency. Efficiency.
Yeah.
I guess that's why the government hired him.
I guess so. Dude, I hear you.
Well, that's awesome. That's a cool experience. Well, Walt, as we come to an end of this podcast, is there anything that you want to add, that you want to speak on before we call it a close?
You know, I don't know who we're speaking to, really, but if entrepreneurs are listening to this podcast, there is not, just because you're not putting money towards something doesn't mean that you're not paying the price. I mean, you're buying a franchise. Somebody's got to put up $1 million. Okay. When you're talking entrepreneurship, you get to use your creative mind to be successful. And I would rather you spend your time in that area than to worry about all the circumstances, because failure is part of the progress. You need to fail. I mean, most of your success people have failed more times than they way more times. If they understand it's a part of the process, it's trial and error all the way through. So the price you have to pay is between your ears. Are you test yourself to see if you're mentally strong enough?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had entrepreneurs that had $300,000 in their checking account. Next day, they were minus $100,000. They're out looking for $100,000 that day to break even. I mean, keep trying to find out where your limits are in all those areas, mentally, financially. Will you live in a tent for a year if you have to do it? I mean, what are the sacrifices you want to take, and test those boundaries? And if you can't, and if you can't get past those, chances are you're not an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would say. Keep testing. It's all right in here. Everything's between your ears. And I'm finding out that entrepreneurs are mentally strong people.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally strong. They discouragement is pushed aside easily with these people. If you find yourself that discouragement isn't, and you don't see an end to it, chances are you're not an entrepreneur.
That's great advice. Yeah.
But try. Everybody has to
always try. That's a good point. I think, and if you're not an entrepreneur, that's okay. That's not a bad thing, but everybody has to try, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe. That's
so
awesome.
That's it.
Well, Walt, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, you've been a huge supporter of me. You've been a huge inspiration. I've learned a lot from you, and I appreciate you coming on and taking this time to do this with me.
You got it, awesome, man. I really appreciate it.
And I want to have you on again because I do want to go over that DISC assessment, just the whole DISC assessment process and go in depth on it because I'm so fascinated with personality and psychology. And we're going to have to do another podcast on that.
I'm loving it, brother. Anytime. You just call me.
Awesome, Walt. Well, I appreciate it, man. I will give you a shout later on in the week. And I just appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man. Catch you later.
Have a good one, Walt.